The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to a slightly delayed episode of the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerdom news and commentary. And oh boy, howdy, do we have a week for you guys. Holy hot damn. Lots of big stories here this week. Stuff that I feel some kind of way about, with a story that was in the title, is in the thumbnail, and we'll be getting to it soon. But in the meantime, also, I am here with your resident Green Lantern, Professor Travis Grossman. You still sipping on that, like, raspberry lemonade, was it?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
I managed to make the 12-pack I currently have last more than 2 days, so... But now I can't find it anymore, so I got to make this one last. I think I'm down to my last one.
Oh, like you have one more after that?
Well, after the... I have two.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay. Gotta remember the spare can Travis always keeps. We're recording in the morning, so I don't have any. I don't have anything from the realm of our sponsor. But before we jump into that, Travis, how are you today, my friend?
It's my Friday for work, so...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's fun. So I got the vibe. Obviously, I was kind of indisposed for the past few days. I got the vibe that Levi has seen Eternals.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah. Lexi and I watched it last Friday.
Yeah.
And then they watched it on Saturday.
How did everybody like it?
I thought it was okay. Lexi thought it was, okay to good-ish. And then she watched it with them for a second time, and they were all very much like, this is mid.
Oh, mid-Eternals. No. I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
For me, they kind of boxed themselves in with the storytelling. It felt a little disjointed, and we got the same meeting a new character, so the whole cast lines up and says that they have bad news, like shot 4 times throughout the movie.
That's true.
So
That's fair.
That got repetitive. Some of the editing felt off, and some of the effects seemed unfinished, which isn't the film's fault. I blame a certain virus.
Yeah, I hear that. Spoilers for Eternals, but we already did a review on it, which pretty much means that spoilers will be abound. I liked it. There were some moments that I was like, all right, come on. I wish you could have heard the way that I cackled when Icarus flew into the sun. I was in a theater with a decent crowd, and he took off into the sky, and I, under my breath, went, he's not doing what I think he's doing. This is not going to... And then, like, you see him just towards the sun. I'm like, oh my God. Like, the jokes that, like, Chloe Zhao took from Zack Snyder a little bit, and then, like, the way he frames his heroes, was acted as inspiration. As I said before, and I'll say again, yeah, she also borrowed the "I'm going to hit you so hard with the metaphor it gives you head trauma," which was the fuzzy just slowly sliding. Is that a fuzzy or a spider? It's a fuzzy. Anyway, but yeah, well, I'm glad you slightly enjoyed Eternals.
Yeah, like I didn't. I'm not gonna go on a Twitter hate rant about it. It didn't ruin my faith in the
woke
MCU.
Eternals.
Yeah, no, it is still above Thor: The Dark World for me. So that's the bar any Marvel movie has to cross. If I liked it more than Thor: The Dark World, we're good.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair bar, but an easy bar, I'd say.
Also, proof that Marvel needs to make a Superman movie, which is unfortunate for me to say, but
I think we're gonna get Hyperion or Sentry sooner than later. Before we jump into the news, a brief word from our sponsors over at SundaysBloodyMaryMix.com or SundaysBloodyMary.com, source for the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement on the market. I have my next jar of spicy Caesar on the way. And on top of the neat monthly subscription box, they also have a new members club program. It's $100, and it's kind of meant for people who are already kind of like really hitting the paint hard with the with their stuff. This is brand new. I got word of it the other day. It's very exciting. So with the membership, you get free shipping on all of your orders. So again, already, if you're somebody who is already using a lot of Sunday's products, this is kind of just something that would be a given up top. You get free shipping, especially doing it at the beginning of the year right now in January. You'll get a personalized code so you can get free shipping on everything. You get a monthly email from Colin and Annie to give you guys a look inside on the dailies, behind the scenes at Sundays, and you'll also get a chance to pick a flavor for a limited edition Bloody Mary mix, which I'm very excited to see what that ends up being. And they'll also be adding different value giveaways, free merch, and free samples, Zoom hangouts, and whatever else they can to that. It looks like they're only taking 10 members for 2022, and that each person will get one of these fancy glasses, custom glasses that are coming with that as well. So go check that out. But if you're not prepared to make the commitment to the members club, like I said, you can always go in for the mixes and the garnishes and rim salt and all the other cool stuff using code TNAP, TNAP at checkout. 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds in the process. So yeah, without any further ado, Travis, which one of these stories do you want to dive into first? Because we got some hefty boys this week.
You want to just go in order?
Okay, we can just go in order. First up top, this happened the other day. It really, we're doing this again? Hold on.
Yes. I don't know what it is, but yes.
Nothing. I read the Wall Street Journal article for free on my phone, not using the same Google account, and then it goes, you remember? When I try to use it for the show. Activision Blizzard King, the video gaming conglomerate, has been purchased by Microsoft. This also comes with rumors that the problematic CEO of Activision is also on his way out in the wake of this purchase. This is kind of a big shot fired by Microsoft in the gaming wars, as it were. Right now, everybody talks about how PlayStation is the winner in terms of its exclusives. And I have recently officially switched sides in the conflict. I am officially on team PlayStation now that I have my PS5 and have been making my way through Spider-Man. I just got to the formation of the Sinister Six again. But with this, Microsoft now has ownership of Bethesda, Activision Blizzard, both, which are huge studios with a litany of franchises that they will take ownership of. I actually saw
that
IGN
together, if they work as hard as they can, might make a single working game.
That is true. Oh my god. This just broke a couple minutes ago. Just interrupting for a moment. Gaspard Ulliel has passed away after a skiing incident. He was an actor who is set to appear in Moon Knight, actually, as Anton Mogart, aka Midnight Man. Rest in peace to Gaspard Ulliel and sympathies to his family. Literally just broke while I was trying to pull up this one IGN thing. That's awful. My God.
That's not good.
No, I was that literally 4 minutes ago is the earliest reporting I'm just seeing. Yeah, no, IGN had put out a little piece talking about the all of the franchises that would now be under every major franchise Xbox deal will acquire in the Activision Blizzard deal. Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch, Diablo, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and then like the studios entail Blizzard Entertainment, King, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, Raven, Toys for Bob, Demonware, High Moon, and Beanox. So
they're still making Guitar Heroes.
Yeah, one came out a couple years ago, didn't it?
No, they've stopped making those. No.
Hey, man, listen. Even if can you imagine if they brought it back though? People would lose their
crap.
shit. People would lose their minds.
The game would come out and be mid, and it would die off again.
The last one, right?
I think I'm right. The last one was in 2015.
I really thought one came after that. Maybe there was a rock band or something. I don't remember.
I think there was a rock band in 2016. That was like a comeback for the series, but it ended up being mid, and everyone hated it. So history repeats itself. We never learn.
But yeah, this is a big shot, I think. And again, like, yes, you're right with all like, maybe if they work hard, they'll make a finished game.
The only real thing here is that now they have to put the DLC for Call of Duty. Well, no, they don't even do that anymore. So in the ye olden days, Call of Duty DLC used to go to Xbox first, and then a month later it'd come to PlayStation. And then when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, Activision, for whatever reason, like there's a new deal with, like, they weren't bought by Sony, but they had a new deal with Sony because their contract with Microsoft went out, and so it switched. And the DLC came out on PS4 first, and then on Xbox a month later. Now it just means that they do that again, which they won't because they run off a Battle Pass system. It would go to Xbox first, but also no one's playing on Xbox, so that means it probably just goes to PC first.
Obviously, there are a lot of conflicting contracts in play here, I'm sure, that haven't been like instantaneously dissolved by this acquisition.
Oh yeah, I don't think they have their contract with Sony anymore because, like I said, any extra content they put into Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure is free because they're making so much money off of Warzone now that they don't need to worry about it.
Do you think they would try to pull the trigger to make some of these franchises console exclusives?
No. Well, here's the thing. Nothing is ever console exclusive on Xbox anymore. Because of the way Microsoft does their business plan, everything they make, they also make for PC. So regardless, even if it doesn't come to PlayStation, even if we don't get Crash Bandicoot 5 for PlayStation, well, there's no way they would do that because Crash started on the PlayStation. But let's say they make Guitar Hero 87, right?
I would be into that.
They wouldn't make a console exclusive because that's just bad for business, I think, for a series that's never been console exclusive, and B, because of the way Xbox works, you can't market it as a console exclusive because it's going to be available on PC regardless. Because every Xbox game is available on PC by design because it's Microsoft. Like, I have friends who do not have Xboxes, but have Xbox Live accounts because they buy Xbox games and play them on their computers. So, I don't know why Microsoft thinks it needs these big companies. Also, no one likes Activision.
I think the biggest development to come from this is the potential that their CEO might finally get booted. Which I saw reporting was confirmed yesterday, but then very quickly deleted. So I don't know if it is confirmed or not, or it's confirmed internally, but we don't know yet. But I think a blind rat could figure out that he's on his way out. But yeah, 68.7 billion was the price tag for this acquisition. Which I saw people on Twitter making jokes about, like, is this really worth like 20 Lucasfilms?
I mean, Call of Duty might be by itself, to be honest.
Yeah, which was exactly what I thought. It was like maybe Call of Duty might just be a little bit more but yeah. Moving on from that one, very big development. I'm curious to see where that develops. Travis,
Skyrim of
congratulations
Duty.
on your trailer.
No, thank you. Worked really hard on it.
Do you want to do the British accent on air while we have you?
No, I have to be on set in the mood. Can't ruin the illusion.
All joking aside, Travis, how did you feel about the Moon Knight trailer?
I liked it. I'm excited. I keep forgetting it's in March.
Yeah, well, we just got that date.
Yeah, but we knew it was going to be early 2020. Like, we knew it would be springtime. So
We knew it would be the first Marvel show, which again leaves a little bit of a window now because Book of Boba Fett wraps up early to mid-February. And this isn't going to start until the end of March. So there's a huge area in there with room to play. So who knows what will be coming out on Disney Plus around that time. It might give us time to watch Peacemaker because also the first few episodes of Peacemaker are out.
yeah,
I've not had a chance to watch. I have heard rave reviews, however, which does not surprise me in the slightest that Peacemaker is good.
yeah, same. I've
Yeah.
heard very good things. Not surprised because everyone likes Suicide Squad. It's basically just a continuation of Suicide Squad, and
Yeah. With the confirmation that apparently Gunn is also currently working on other DCEU projects for HBO Max, which makes me very happy to hear.
I mean, whatever works for them, I guess.
I think he would crush like a Red Hood and the Outsiders type story, but that's just me. But then again, I think a part of me after watching the bit of Titans we watched is just like anything to redeem Red Hood after this shit.
Yeah, it's not going to be hard.
Anything to make Jason watchable. But anyway, thoughts on Moon Knight? You said you were surprised that it was early, or it's earlier than you were expecting, at least.
Yeah, I just keep forgetting that all of the stuff that we heard about pre-pandemic that was like, and we're getting this, is actually coming now.
Yeah,
And it's weird.
it's no longer just key art and a vague description.
Yeah. I like the suit.
Me too.
I like the mystery. It feels very mystical, which is weird for the MCU, but I'm glad we're shifting to that route now.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have a new character that I'm tied to automatically for reasons out of my control.
That excites me the most out of anything. No, I really like the trailer. I think a friend of the show, Alden Diaz, put it very succinctly on Twitter. He was like he said something to the effect of, "I love when a trailer is no story, just tone."
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the most succinct description of the trailer that anyone could give, and I agree with it completely, and I love that, and I agree. I love when the trailer does not give me much in the way of story or plot. Give me as vague as an idea as you possibly can, and show me what it feels like, and I'm in. I love the design of the suit. Literally the shot that we saw leaked however many months ago is the final shot of the trailer of Mark just turning and looking down the camera. I'm super excited for this. It hit me watching the trailer. Like, I watched it like 3 times. Like, I watched it, I was like, oh wow, and then I watched it, and then I watched it a third time just for good measure. And I had this moment where like it finally set in how amazing post Endgame MCU is about to be. I was like, we are literally getting a Moon Knight TV show, and I've seen it brought up that this is the first big swing at a not already established character. That all of the TV shows we got in 2021 were characters we were already familiar with. Scarlet Witch and Vision, Bucky and Sam, Loki, Hawkeye. Obviously, they all introduced new characters to us. Your Agathas and Sylvies and Mobius, whatever, Contessa. But this is the first time that we're like complete blank slate, which I think is neat. I also think moving into the more mystical side of the Marvel universe, and this occurred to me, and with Eternals on the mind, since it seems like the show is going to be starting in England at the very least, it might globetrot, but it's starting in England. The prospect that the show, I think we're building towards an establishment of the Midnight Suns. I think we're looking at a really cool lineup for the Suns. That we have Blade at the end of Eternals. Which I love that I can just say that sentence. Like, that's just another we have completely like it felt like we took the leash off for Endgame, right? Where it's just like, just do and Infinity War, just do comic book shit. we're at the point where like Blade at the end of Eternals, so Moon Knight, Blade, and Black Knight are all in the same city right now, theoretically. That's not to say that we don't also get a new Ghost Rider at some point, which there have been rumors of.
Mhm.
Obviously, Strange. Like, we could end up with like a really bitchin' Midnight Suns lineup. Throw Wanda in there, depending on how the story of Multiverse of Madness plays out as to whether or not she goes full rogue or she comes a baddie. God forbid she die. I really hope they don't go in that direction. I don't think they would kill her off yet, though.
No, she's too marketable.
But I think you're right. I do think you're right. I don't think they're getting rid of her yet. But like Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Blade, Black Knight, Moon Knight is one hell of a lineup for a Midnight Sun story, and we can finally cash that Mephisto check.
We're never cashing the Mephisto check.
Well, we're getting Mephisto. We're getting him eventually, and that's where you put him, is a Midnight Sun story. But all of that to say, this is just a very specific part of the Marvel universe I'm excited to see come alive. I love Moon Knight. I think this is going to be so cool. He looks cool. This is going to be awesome. I am so excited to see where this goes in terms of like the freaky element. I really hope this is terrifying. Like, we get a little bit of that. Like, we see like the scene where like Khonshu, he's like hallucinating Khonshu, like lumbering at him in the hallway. And like the teaser for the trailer has him just like Daredevil Netflix style, just like pummeling a fucking werewolf, man. Like, and which Lycan of the Marvel universe it ends up being, is TBD. We'll see. But this is just so much fun. And we also got a bitchin' poster for it as well. Let me pull that up as well. Screen share that. One moment. I tried to do it, and then it was like, hey, do you want to log into your Instagram? And I was like, oh, that wasn't kind of the point, but okay. Yeah, poster looks so good. Beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, oop. Click the wrong window. Don't look at our show notes. We look all exposed.
There's things that'll get us canceled in there.
Yes. Like the fact that I misspelled Whedon. Because I let autocorrect correct me.
I feel like that's a positive, though.
Yeah, honestly. Moving forward, kind of alluded to it there. Joss Whedon is in the news again.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
My thoughts immediately when I saw this trending yesterday. I
definitely thought it was a bait headline. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't looked at the story yet because only once it gained traction did I realize it was real. But I definitely thought it was like one of the bait and switch outlets trying to like reel people in with the Joss Whedon story again.
Yeah, I read the entirety of the Vulture article. Look, a lot of the article is about how a lot of the article does this thing where it is almost Joss Whedonifying Joss Whedon's fall from grace, and talking about how he's kind of had this weird usurpment by problematic king Zack Snyder, and how like he of all people being like played as the good guy against Joss Whedon's supervillain is ironic, because at the time where Joss Whedon is being praised as this trailblazing leader in diversity and feminism in pop culture and media, Zack Snyder's making 300, which has like really weird racist fascist undertones. And people going after Snyder at that time and people praising Joss Whedon, and now things have switched around where Joss Whedon is viewed as this like hateful bigot. Zack Snyder's like, how dare you cut these people of color from my movie, you son of a bitch. There's a lot here. And, you know, Joss Whedon tells on himself unintentionally a lot in this article. And yes, I know there was a login to our Instagram. It was me, goddammit. Jesus. we keep having news break during the show. Because this is going out only in a matter of hours. Breaking. A new age begins September 2nd, 2022. Journey to Middle Earth with the Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power on Amazon Prime. And it looks like we have a trailer as well. Expect coverage of the trailer next week. But
wait,
the
Amazon Lord of the Rings show actually has a date and a trailer?
Yeah.
It's been shooting.
It wrapped. Holy shit, that was an episode you couldn't be on for. It wrapped filming like 2 months ago.
It started filming?
And finished. I believe it was shooting through the pandemic. Like, it was still on and popping.
No, it's not
as
real.
much as it...
No. You know what? It's not real. It's fine. It's okay. We're just living in two different dimensions right now.
You know what makes what you just said even funnier? And I don't know if it'll come through the show that way. Voice Potato went crazy. So while you were doing it, we just live in two different dimensions. It's fine. Your voice got all like Ultron warped. So it was like, excellent. We live in two different dimensions. It's fine. Anyway.
Good.
So yeah. I in our show notes, I linked two different articles discussing the main Joss Whedon interview. I didn't link the article itself with the interview because it is very long. Originally, again, we're recording this. It's 10:08 right now on Wednesday, the day this episode will drop. Like within an hour. We were going to record this last night, like when Travis was done at work in the gym. And literally part of the reason why I was too tired to record last night was because right before we did, I was like, I'm going to read this entire article so it's fresh. And my eyes were too tired. And I was like, I fell asleep. Like the moment I was done with the article, my face like fell into the pillow. Not that it's boring necessarily. I just like my eyes were tired. But yeah, so we have in here an LA Times piece on the article. Joss Whedon speaks out against Gal Gadot and Ray Fisher and says he, quote, had to have affairs. I love this. Given the opportunity to answer allegations of grievous misbehavior, including claims of sexist remarks and racist action on his sets, Joss Whedon copped to affairs, saying he had to have them in situations he should have handled better in his personal life, but disputed claims from the likes of Gal Gadot and Ray Fisher and others. He dismissed Fisher's complaints this was wild. He dismissed Fisher's complaints as those of a bad actor in both senses of the term. Was his defense. And in Gadot's case, he suggested the Israeli actor had misunderstood him because, quote, English is not her first language. In an extensive New York Magazine profile by Lila Shapiro, no relation to Benny Boy, Whedon offered his first detailed public response to the negative reports, which began arising in the summer of 2020 and have encompassed not just the disastrous Justice League, but also Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show that made his fame. Ray Fisher, whose Justice League role as Cyborg was drastically reduced when the film's director's reins went from Zack Snyder to Whedon. Has made multiple public statements accusing the writer-director of, quote, abusive and unprofessional actions on set. In one tweet, he wrote the director's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. Among Fisher's claims are that the, quote, erasure of people of color from the 2017 theatrical version of Justice League, end quote, was neither an accident nor a coincidence. As he told Forbes in an October 2020 interview, several actors of color, including Harry Lennox, Joe Morton, Karen Bryson, and Zhang Kai, and Kiersey Clemens did see their roles reduced or removed altogether from Whedon's version of Justice League. When compared to the Snyder Cut, though, it's unclear how much those parts would have survived in the theatrical cut of Justice League, seeing as the Snyder Cut was 4 hours long. Which is one area where I want to pause here. And these are one of those moments where love it or leave it, the Snyder Cut existing does a lot to help flesh things out with this situation.
Mhm.
I understand saying that the movie as it is, as we got the Snyder Cut, is 4 fucking hours long. And either you put out this Titanic length movie in theaters, or some people get kind of cut and snipped. Where I would push back and say, I think a lot of these characters still probably do appear in the movie. They just have a limited capacity. Like they had that version of the Atom that was working at Star Labs very closely with Silas Stone. If you don't cut Silas out altogether, like they practically did, and very, 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 very much limit his involvement in the movie, you don't lose Adam, whose civilian name is escaping me. But
it might not be. I'm not sure which one it was because I honestly don't remember. Ray Park. No, that's the actor.
that's Darth Maul.
Yeah, that is Darth Maul. I should know this.
Yeah, I was hoping you were gonna just cut me off, but yeah, like I was saying, on one hand, I understand cutting the Iris West scene, because the Flash kind of does have multiple introduction scenes. So, okay, I
Ray
get that.
Palmer. It was a Ray. Okay, I'm not crazy.
I thought Ray Palmer was the one that Brendan Routh played. I can't remember.
Yeah, it is. It's the wait. Is it the Asian one?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Remember. Characters of color who got cut from the movie.
Ryan Chow.
Thank you. I couldn't remember anybody who played who took up the role of the Atom. I couldn't even remember Ray Palmer's name until you said it. I was about to say not the Brandon Routh Jr. one. But anyway, again, multiple actors of color having their roles almost completely removed. Silas Stone's role was dramatically undercut, and I think that as he's portrayed in the Snyder Cut is an improvement. I think you can take or leave the Iris West scene just because I think you can be introduced to Barry just fine with either the prison scene or Batman coming to his goofy ass lair. I think with the assumption that you're going to get a Flash movie, all the way back in 2016 and 2017, when this movie was being worked on, if I were to put myself in those shoes, I'd go cut Iris because you will get to meet her in a more fleshed out capacity in a Flash movie anyway. Mm-hmm. And keep stuff with Barry's dad in prison because that is more central to his character and is more what sets him out on his journey to be a hero. And since we decided that this is going to be the origin story for half of these characters, I guess you kind of have to keep that over Iris. Again, there's a lot of problems that I think arise from the some of the decisions made on the part of WB and Zack Snyder. Again, this is what we talked about last week with the whole retcon rumor of of course your cinematic universe is going to be a mess. You pick 2 stories that are meant to take place at the end of possible future, or one story that takes place at the end of a possible future and another story that takes your main character off the board. So obviously none of that is, carte blanche for Joss Whedon to be a bastard. in any way, but there's already problems that like stemmed from the structure of the movie that put Joss Whedon in a situation where he got to be a piece of shit. But yeah. We're talking. This is Joss Whedon's quote with regards to Ray Fisher and his demands of accountability from Whedon. We're talking about a malevolent force. We're talking about a bad actor in both senses, which I love how he even writes, like he talks, like we get it, like you're just quippy, you fucking douche. Aquaman star Jason Momoa, however, had backed Fisher. I meant to say fired back. Has backed Fisher, including in a September 2020 Instagram post that read in part, "Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated, and people need to be held accountable." Hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. Aloha J. Gadot, who had played Wonder Woman in several DC films, told Israeli outlet N12 that Whedon, quote, kind of threatened my career and said if I did something, he would make my career miserable. I was shaking trees. As soon as it happens, and I must say that the heads of Warner Bros. They took care of it. Going back to the sense of righteousness that I have, I just did what I felt I had to do, and to tell people that it's not okay. The New York Profile quotes Whedon's response to claim, "I don't threaten people. Who does that?" He concluded she had misunderstood him. English is not her first language, and I tend to be annoyingly flowery with my speech. He recalled arguing with a scene she wanted to cut. He told her jokingly that if she wanted to get rid of it, she would have to tie him down to a railroad track and do it over his dead body. Then I quote, "Then I was told that I had said something about her dead body and tying her to a railroad track." And then in parentheses, Gadot did not agree with Whedon's version of events. "I understood everything perfectly," Gadot said. The profile didn't specify. Also, to loop back around to this, there's also and they might get to this in this LA Times article, I can't remember. They also refer to a passage in the article where someone who worked with Whedon either on Firefly or Buffy, that this exact conversation also happened there, where he also did the like, "I will end your goddamn career. You listen to me, and you listen to me now." And I think it is incredible.
Angel,
What?
I think.
On Angel, the big one on Angel was when he basically fired Charisma Carpenter for being pregnant, which was its own like can of worms where he basically harassed her directly for that. It was somebody who wasn't on camera. It was like someone who worked behind the scenes on Buffy, I believe, who also was like, "Oh, I'm glad he's still using that line," or something to that effect. But yeah, the whole English isn't her first language, so she must not have understood what I said. Bro, what the fuck compelled you to think that was a good line to go with? Like, the thing that befuddles me is the way that his strategy here was to not mea culpa and fall on his sword. Like, he half does that. He does that with the shit that you can't not prove, with the multiple affairs and like the really weird way. And like, you know, promiscuity is one thing, you know, like we're not going to slut shame. We're not going to get into that territory. It's neither here nor there. However, when you're like really weirdly predatory towards people you work with, and then like start sleeping with somebody whom there's a weird power dynamic with, and then just kind of abruptly stop talking to them, that's a different conversation than just Joss Whedon like screwing his way around, you know, Santa Monica. You know, like there's a big difference there. I don't think anybody cares that Joss slept around after his divorce. I think a lot of people are more upset with the fact that like every time there was some weird story, like there was one woman who talked about how like the most traumatic thing that had ever happened to her was she got broken up with on her birthday. And then Joss Whedon broke up with this woman on her birthday after that. And the verbiage she uses in the New Yorker and Vulture article, which is the same article, is her basically saying like he realized like he just destroyed a thing for the sake of saying that he could. Like very, very cruel man. On it, and again, we're learning about this on an interpersonal level a lot with with the original article, and a lot of people, speaking out on these things. And he, for the most part, falls on his sword, for the affairs and the very manipulative behavior with women in general. However, there's a lot of like interpersonal stuff he doesn't admit to, and like I said, like the direct line he has of, oh, I just couldn't help but sleep with all my employees. I felt, it's like, anyway. I highly recommend reading the main article itself. The profile didn't specify which scene was an issue, but there have been reports that Gadot refused to shoot a sexual gag, wherein Flash lands on her body suggestively. The finished product, Wonder Woman's face is not visible in that moment, possibly lending credence to the reports that Whedon resorted to a body double to get the shot. The New York Profile writer addressed Whedon's claim that he doesn't threaten people. An actress. Oh, okay. There we go. I was wrong. An actress on Angel had told me that that hadn't been true. I stand corrected. You probably read ahead, and I sound like an idiot now. An actress on Angel told me that hadn't been true back when she knew him. And after her agent pushed for her to get a raise, she claims Whedon called her home and said she was never going to work for him or 20th Century Fox again. Reading Gadot's quote, she thought, "Wow, he's still using that line." Whedon denied this too. I stand corrected. You were right. It was on Angel. There's so many of these, and they're just all bleeding together now.
It's
in the wake
it's not
of these
because I read ahead. It's because I'm so familiar with everything in Joss Whedon's work, obviously, that I knew that by heart. So excuse. I read ahead. I don't give a shit about like.
I wish you stood your ground, because if I had accidentally skipped that paragraph, I would have felt like a total asshole going back and.
But I knew that's important.
I know. But tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'm just glad he's never going to work again.
One would hope. In the wake of these accusations, Buffy castmates publicly condemned their former boss, Michelle Thatchenberg, who joined the show's cast at 16, said there was a rule that he couldn't be alone with her. Thatchenberg wrote on an Instagram post early last year, "I am brave enough now as a 35-year-old woman because this must be known. As a teenager, with his not appropriate behavior, very not appropriate. So now people know what Joss did." The last comment, there's like, it's weirdly punctuated.
Yeah,
it's like the last period comment I will make on this. There was a rule saying he's not allowed in a room with Michelle again. Whedon says in the profile he knew nothing about this. An unnamed castmate quoted in the article backs Thatchenberg's account, but leaves open the possibility that it may have been an informal rule of which Whedon himself was not aware, which somehow makes it worse.
I feel like that kind of rule doesn't work if the person knows.
I think you're right, Travis.
Like if there's like a formal rule on set, and remember, the director and writer of the show does not go in a room alone with this person. That's odd. That's a formal rule. But like, if you as a group see what's happening and go, "Hey, we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen anymore," you don't tell the person.
No. In the New York piece, Whedon denies many of the charges, though the profile includes quotes from numerous people involved with the show, corroborating some reports and making new accusations. One woman, described as a, quote, high-level member of the Buffy production team, claims Whedon and an actress engaged in romantic activity in her office while she was working, prompting her to leave the production. Quote, "They were rolling around the floor making out," says the profile. The woman is quoted as saying, quote, "They would bang into my chair. These actions prove they had no respect for me and my work." While Whedon denied the rolling on the floor incident, he said of his now documented affairs on the set of Buffy while married, "I feel fucking terrible about them. It messes up the power dynamic." The New York piece continues. He quickly added that he had felt he had to sleep with them, that he was powerless to resist. He had been surrounded by beautiful young women, the sort who had ignored him when he was younger, and he feared if he didn't have sex with them, he would always regret it.
I need to be cool, guys. I get to be the cool guy for once. I'm gonna wear my leather jacket to work.
Oh my god! You know, I've heard of people pleading insanity. I've never heard of anybody pleading incel. I can't believe he said that. Like, that's the thing in my mind where it's like you know what? I think not that I have any respect left for this man, but you could have had a moment where like you put your foot down and you slam your hand on the table and you just fucking it like owned up to the shit and took that L and took that shit on the chin. And he was. And then you have the like like he just like all that's missing is the goddamn Newsies cap and like his 4chan login being somewhere right behind him. Jesus H Christ. This shit is fucking pathetic. The New York profile is packed with disturbing accounts by women, some 2 decades or more younger than he, who had had relationships with Whedon, describing manipulation and seeming deliberate cruelty. To more than one of these accounts, his response in the article were that he, quote, should have handled the situation better, or similar variations. Whedon told the magazine, could I have done marriage better? Don't get me started. Could I have been a better showrunner? Absolutely. Should I have been nicer? Writer Shapiro describes him considering the question and wondering if the problem had to do with him being too nice. He decries the phenomenon of people using, quote, every weaponizable word of the modern era to make it seem like I was an abusive monster, he said. I think I'm one of the nicer showrunners that's ever been.
That's sad. That's really sad if he thinks that.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah. Joss Whedon is a monster and a bastard, and if he ever has work again, shame on whomever hires him. The New Yorker profile also does mention the fact that he's basically been scrubbed from all of the marketing and anything to do with his HBO show, The Nevers. So that's good, I guess. Yeah. Quickie story. There's rumors that we're moving on from this one. I think all that's been said can be said. Do with this story what you will. I do highly implore everybody to go look at the original article if you can stomach it. Knowing that conversations of the kind of abuse that Joss Whedon is known for are discussed. Be warned for that. And if you can stomach that, I highly recommend the article. Like I said, however, it is quite long. Real quick, allegedly John Krasinski is in talks for Mr. Fantastic. Cool. It's one of those things where like it's been talked about for so long, and like I even said, like, oh, I'm kind of into the idea that and like now everybody kind of hopped on like the John Krasinski is Reed Richards bandwagon, and I've seen so many other fascinating fan casts for Reed that Krasinski's now kind of like the most boring one. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not anti John Krasinski playing Mr. Fantastic, but like I've seen so many more interesting ideas for it at this point. Same thing with like Keanu Reeves should play Darth Revan. No, he just has a beard.
I love him, right? I think we all love him.
Keanu's great.
I am so sick of Keanu Reeves should play X character. If I never saw that as a post on anything ever again, my heart would be happy.
Yeah, me too.
Give the man a rest. Let him work on what he wants to work on. Please.
Well, the thing with the Keanu stuff, in my opinion, and not to sound gatekeepy, but it's always with characters that a lot of people are super familiar with their aesthetic, the general idea of them being badass and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, there's nothing wrong with being a Star Wars fan who has never played or consumed anything related to KOTOR. I don't want that to be the impression that I'm about to give. Like Travis and I and everybody on the TNAP team has said before, the requirement to be a fan of something is that you like it and nothing else. That said, and I direct this criticism mostly at people who I question their ability to gatekeep, because it's typically gatekeepers who have a elementary understanding of the stories that they're gatekeeping, who viciously, constantly, Darth Revan, Keanu, Moon Knight, Keanu, Craven, Keanu, like it's just all of these characters. It's just like all you know is that they fight good. That's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, doesn't make you a bad person. Keanu as Revan has like a slight more tinge to it because the canon, and that was in terms of legends, like appearance for Revan, since you could customize whatever you wanted to do, was, white guy, beard, long black hair. And
the
like
demographic. You could have just said the demographic.
That was funny. But like legitimately, like the canon face choice for Revan does not look dissimilar to 2020's Keanu Reeves. Like it's literally like the same, like kind of droopy back hairstyle. The beard is the same length. I get he looks like him, but you're gonna need more than looks like him. Whatever. But yeah, I don't. It's just like Keanu. I don't want to see it anymore. Now, Keanu Reeves is the Silver Surfer. I'll take that. Our last story here for you guys, before we call it a day and I do a little bit of housekeeping here at the end. We got our first look at Leslie Grace's Batgirl. And Aaron, I'm trying to get some of these ads out of the way so I can adequately show you the costume. Travis and I both have thoughts on the costume, and here it is for our video watchers. It's very much going for like the Batgirl Burnside look, like the cowl isn't completely attached to the rest of the suit. We got like the open, like basically from the nose down is open. We got the purple suit. There's kind of like the pleating going on down the front. Kind of looks like a modded leather jumpsuit. Or like at least it looks like a leather jacket that got then sewn onto matching leather pants.
It looks like a very padded tracksuit to me.
It looks like a padded tracksuit. I can see that. I like the leathery look. And we got the yellow cape.
I need to point out. Go back to the picture. Can you notice what's slightly off about this picture? That I just noticed when you pulled it up.
Two shadows?
No.
Because I'm assuming this is the gargoyle, but it still looms pretty big. What?
Look at her shadow. What's missing?
Oh, the cape?
No.
What?
Her hair.
Yeah.
Like her hair is blowing in the wind, and there is not a single strand in her shadow.
Yeah. See, I noticed that, and I noticed the fact that like the shadow with like bat ears on it like didn't have any cape, didn't have her hair before, and I just kind of assumed that was supposed to be like an artistic decision.
It probably
Either it'll be
is.
like the threatening like you know like again like any member of the Bat family, be it Bruce, Barbara, whomever, like they cut an imposing figure because of how dramatic the outfit is,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like an allusion to like the shadow and legacy of Batman, because we from the set pictures we saw last week, you know, we see like the images of him and Robin, whatever. um there also could have been movement there going on. There's any number of things, but I do think it's funny that there's no shadow of her hair. It's just the cowl that has a shadow. um Travis, thoughts on the suit itself?
I don't know. Like, again, this is one of those I need to see it in motion,
Yeah,
right? Because I could have seen myself being iffy on the Batman suit, right?
yeah,
Robert Pattinson suit. Seeing it in motion, it's perfect, right? Because it's the ultimate functional Batman suit that we have
yeah.
never gotten on screen before. Um, I it just looks like a leather jacket with a bat on it. And I don't hate it. Like, I don't think it's bad. I think also we're like I'm so accustomed we as a culture are so accustomed to live action DC superhero suits being armored and padded, especially bat suits, right?
Yeah.
That to see one that looks very much like it's just going to be a padded leather jacket with a Kevlar vest underneath just seems minimal, which again isn't bad. It's just off-putting.
It's jarring from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And I think there's something very funny. You know, that was my first reaction to. You know, was that this is like knowing the direction that live action DC suits normally go in, that they're typically more armory. You know, like Marvel likes to do tactical, and they're moving
Practical
away
vests,
from
baby. They're all in
that.
vests, baby.
And it looks like they're slowly moving away from tactical, you know, or at the very least doing their best to like
Hide it.
to hide it and do like we're gonna go full comic accuracy. You know, like how many different iterations of Captain America's suit did we go through before it had scales?
Mm-hmm.
You know, count however movies he's been in, because it was literally the one he wore in Endgame, and that's it. And even then, the scales were super downplayed, and it was a very dark blue, almost a purple in color. How dark it was. And then you look at Sam's suit, and it's like royal blue and scarlet red, and he's flying around like it's ripped off the page, you know. And I think that maybe there's something to be said for the fact that the suits that they're ripping off the page generally have been suits that were drawn to be tactical, and that's why they're adapting well. But like I get spoilers, look at Spider-Man. Like we went from like how many different design elements can we put on Spider-Man's suit to make it look like its own thing in the MCU and high tech, and then the end of the movie's like fuck it, red and blue spandex, let him go.
Mm-hmm.
There's something jarring here because the MCU I think does a fun thing where it's like a really cool adaptation of the costume, and it's adaptation and it's adaptation and it's adaptation. And then now over the past year, it's just been like off the comics, off the comics, off the comics, off the comics. Like here are these hyper screen accurate costumes left, right, and center. And with DC, there has been the constant, how do we make this seem as realistic as possible? And like, you know, I think it worked best on Superman.
Yeah, because Superman doesn't need the armor, right? Anybody else, like, we haven't gotten a good Green Lantern movie, so that doesn't count. Superman doesn't need the armor. Wonder Woman technically doesn't need the armor, but her costumes have also looked pretty good, just like kind of muted. With the exception of 84, obviously. But like the Flash.
The Flash wears
is
a suit of armor.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
They put Aquaman in a suit of armor before they put him in just where like you could have just put him in scale mail armor. They went with like the suit he wears in Justice League, both versions.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting.
Afraid. They were afraid that people were going to meme the orange, even though it's cool.
And you look at all the villains have like a weird thing going on where like, you know, the original Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad. There's an element of like strapped together, but also like tactical. And then there's Harley Quinn. But, you know, I think it's like, this is like the first time we've really seen a live action DC movie go the direction of the superhero put their costume together overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have gone from like the deification of these characters that happens in DC movies. Good, bad, or indifferent. How that bleeds into costume design. And this is the first time, really, in a hot minute, one of these costumes has felt like a person made this and now they're wearing it to go beat people up. And I've seen so many people throwing hissy fits, like posting pictures of like the Arkham Knight Batgirl suit and like different versions of her suit from the comics. And it's all armor. And it's like, clearly this shit was meant to be made in her room between shifts.
And like I said, the biggest thing for me right now is I want to see it in motion. Because that's the biggest problem the Bat family has had since the 80s. Where to put Batman in live action means he has to be in a bat suit, which means he probably can't move. Right? They made it a plot point in The Dark Knight that Christian Bale could finally move his neck in the suit.
Yeah.
Which looks like she won't have a problem doing here. But also when they're fighting, right? If their arm can't come up past here, your fight choreography is going to be wonky as hell at best.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into like the conversations about like the James Bond movies, famously, like a lot of the Daniel Craig movies. He wore two suits. There was the incredibly tight James Bond, shaken, not stirred suit, where he's not doing anything. He's just walking and talking and sitting and nothing. And then they had the same suit, but it was a size and a half too big. But you couldn't tell in motion because he's fighting people.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like the super loose suit be what he wore in combat. And, you know, none of the studios know this. Like, you know, 90% of the time, if you see a cape, it's fucking CGI anyway. You know, look at the behind the scenes of the warehouse fight in BVS. Affleck is barely wearing a cape in any of those shots, and the only ones he is wearing a cape in are basically where he's just stalking towards somebody. And shots that, you know, it would be kind of silly to try to animate the cape in. I like it. I like it for what it is. It is clearly the hero made this suit themselves look. You know, like it's, and I think it's weird. I think it would be interesting to compare and contrast this to the Kamala Khan suit that we have so far. Because Kamala's has this weird thing going on where parts of it look, I made this overnight, but then the actual symbol and the main part of the suit looks like it was gifted to her by an Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like it came out of like the Stark Fabricator. You know, where like she's wearing Converse and like the pants are a little too short and they stop before her ankles and all of that. But then like the middle of the suit screams like MCU superhero outfit. Where I like that this is kind of scaled back and I like the direction they're going in. Like any member of the Bat family and most superheroes, I love to see upgrades. I love to see suits like this adapt and change over time. And I'm sure we'll see that with this. But currently, this is our first look at Batgirl. And I think it's pretty neat, and I'm excited for this movie. I am legitimately very excited for this movie, and I'm hoping it gets a theatrical release just like Blue Beetle.
I am legitimately still surprised this movie is even happening. I will remain that way up until it comes out.
Valid. However, I think this.
It's gonna be a big nut bust.
I've made it my personal challenge to use that one at least once an episode now. Real quick housekeeping. The Versus Series Season 2 tournament, because I had a lot going on this past week and didn't really get the time to prepare for it the way I wanted to. And Spencer is fresh. He's out of quarantine now. He's good. He's fine. Spencer was just coming off of COVID at the end of last week, going into this week. So he's back in action. I'm back and ready to play. So the Versus Series tournament will be happening Monday the 24th. Is the date? Yes, Monday the 24th, 7:30 or 8. We haven't decided a time yet, but that is when that will be happening. And you'll have until Sunday to send in your bracket submissions. That goes for both patrons and non-patron viewers. And we'll be doing that live. And once we're done with it, Spencer and I are going to cry tears of joy because as loyal listener and patron Paco put it, the universe, for some reason, does not want us to do this Versus Series tournament. And I have a feeling that by the time we finally get it done, we are going to have a Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness style, the universe collapsing in on itself moment where like the sky will start bleeding. But that is neither here nor there.
An alt-right you comes from the sky and you have to fight him.
Proud boy Jarod.
Version of you that would listen to this podcast to make fun of us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the version of me that's like has an unhealthy obsession with the far left and is like, oh man, I'm just gonna listen to this so I can make fun of it and dunk on people on Twitter. I love Star Wars theory and geeks and gamers. We're super tight with the quartering instead of comic book cast.
Don't even say that. That made me sick. Don't say that.
Have you ever heard the story about whenever Jeremy from the quartering shit his pants at a Walmart?
No. But that makes me happy.
I'm going to be sending you a link later.
Why is it a thing for media personalities on the alt-right to shit themselves? Why is that a thing? I like that it's a thing, like it makes me happy, but it's also kind of confusing.
I know. Well, hey, it's like I can't remember who said it in what comic book, but I want to say it was Rorschach, but it definitely wasn't Rorschach, because Rorschach is a white supremacist. But it was something to the effect of, why is it that every white supremacist is the worst example of white power you could imagine? And that goes for Quarter Pounder, as Armin likes to call him, which I gave him permission for. He has the fat joke pass. But shouts out to our $10 patrons. We got Nick Johnson. I'm going to try it today. We got Nick Johnson, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and your friendly neighborhood Austeronicologicalist. That's as good as you're going to get. I don't know if I shouted you out yet, but Ray Clausen, thank you for joining the Patreon at the $2 level when you join. We appreciate that very much. And again, it doesn't matter what tier you are on, you are eligible to submit a bracket to the Versus Series tournament. Yeah, and that I no bias, of course, and Spencer and I do our best to not look at the brackets before it starts. I just try to get them and put them in a folder. A part of me is curious to see if Charlotte can pull off a repeat. I want to see if she can do it back to back. She had a damn near perfect bracket last year. Her only mess up was that she had Qui-Gon beating Kit Fisto. But it didn't matter who won the next fight because the other person would have beat either Qui-Gon or Kit Fisto, so her bracket auto-corrected. But that's the fun thing. If you mess up once, you have the potential for your entire bracket to be wrong if you have one incorrect. Which I think is fun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I'm not sure yet. We're going to try to have a number one contender out this week. There's been some developments. I am not fully aware of them. I just know that there's some big news. We want to talk Schmodown Awards. Book of Boba Fett, Knights of the Nerd Republic will be out this week as well. We're recording that at time of record tomorrow, Thursday, the 20th. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. Like I said, we're trying to get our stuff together over here on our side for the new year. But yeah, thank you all so very much for listening. SundaysBloodyMary.com. Use code TNAP at checkout. Thank you all so much for listening and watching however you watch the show. And student store link.
T-public.com.
Or win the Versus tournament and get it for free. But yeah. See, Travis looks like an unmitigated sex god wearing his TNAP hoodie.
That is false advertising, sir. I don't think we're allowed to tell them that. Or we need like an asterisk next to me that says, there we go. We need like put an asterisk so that legally we're okay.
No asterisk. Sex god.
But only after sex. I am a deity, so.
Move away from the cookie jar.